Senator from Montana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Interesting time we have here in the United States Senate. As when the Democrats took over this body, we were coming out of a pandemic and not even close to be fully out of the pandemic yet. If you think back then, people didn't have shots in their arms. The economy was in tough shape. And Democrats responded in a way that helped turn this economy around and helped put us on firm footing as a leading economic driver in this world. It is interesting as I hear some of my folks on the other side of the aisle talk about things like inflation as it applies to food. I happen to have a couple bills that'll deal with that issue. And hopefully we can take it up in the lame duck. I don't think we're going to have time to take it up before the election, but that will help not only our cow-calf producers, but also consumers when it comes to meat prices. I would hope that we get a large number of folks from across the aisle to support us on that. When we talk about the southern border and we talk about national security, and I'm going to approach national security in a little different vein here with this CR, I think it's important to note that folks bring up a lot of things wrong with damn few solutions. The bottom line is that we need more manpower, we need more technology on the southern border. I've been down there, I've seen how these folks bring drugs across the line. They don't do it in backpacks, some, but very little. Most of us come across in cars and trucks and equipment. And if we have the technology to be able to, for lack of a better term, x-ray these vehicles, we can make a big inroad on what's going on from a drug standpoint. And if we have the manpower, which, by the way, we're very undermanned as far as Border Patrol and Border Protection, we can make inroads into illegal border crossings also. But I'm not here to talk about any of that stuff per se. What I do want to talk about is a thing called a continuing resolution, because that's what we're going to vote on hopefully today or tomorrow. Without this continuing resolution, we will be shutting down the government, so I would encourage all my fellow senators to vote for this continuing resolution. I'm going to approach it from my position as chairman of the Defense Subcommittee on Appropriations, the committee that funds our military. Our armed forces needs this funding, this continuing resolution for their paychecks, along with the thousands of civilian employees that the Department of Defense employs. But the fact that we're debating a continuing resolution instead of a full government funding bill is truly disappointing. It's disappointing because the federal government funding is Congress's primary job. The people of Montana did not send me to the United States Senate to play politics and put off work that needs to be done to another day. They sent me here to get the job done. Failing to pass this CR would harm families, businesses, agriculture, all across our great nation. So step one is passing this continuing resolution, not kicking the can further down the road. But let's do ourselves a favor. Let's make sure that this is the last CR before we agree to FY23's funding package. I can tell you that after working for the last nearly 2 years as chair of the Committee on Defense and Appropriations, that this bill shouldn't be about politics or partisanship. It should be about national security, keeping our nation safe. But by continuing to pass CRs, our military will be operating on outdated budgets. Our troops will not have the resources that they need to operate at the highest level. It will waste taxpayer money. And make no mistake about it, there are countries out there who wish to do us harm. With every continuing resolution, we are giving our enemies, and I don't need to bring them up per list, the ability to take a second breath and come after us. Russia and Ukraine. China, who are rapidly modernizing their military and threatening our technological edge. This is happening along with a bunch of other stuff while we are limiting our military's ability to assess emerging threats around the globe. Without a full appropriations package, our armed services lack certainty needed to operate to their fullest potential. Certainty that's so important for everything. It's important for business, it's important for families, it's important for our armed services. I know what it takes to craft these bills because, quite honestly, we worked on a pretty darn good appropriations bill, but we weren't allowed to bring it up. For the sake of our national security and for our men and women in uniform, we need to work in a bipartisan way. If you want to talk about what's wrong with this country, the main thing that's wrong with this country is we point to the different issues and areas that we could do better on. The main thing that's wrong with this country right now is dysfunction in Washington, D.C., and the fact that this place is totally divided, and everything's about politics first and policy second. We need to find common ground. Failure to find common ground puts our troops and our nation, and quite frankly, the whole world in danger. I will close by saying my colleagues need to pass this resolution, and we need to make sure that this is the last continuing resolution that we pass. That, in fact, we have full appropriation bills done in the proper timeline, which is at the end of the fiscal year, which is at the end of September. Anything less should be considered a failure. I yield the floor, Mr. President.